6-7 million years ago, the sun hung low and heavy over the Hell Creek Formation, a world painted in gold and green. This was the late afternoon of the late Cretaceous, and the light, thick and amber, filtered through the broad it streamed across vast floodplains, glinting off the wide, muddy rivers that snaked through the humid landscape. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth, decaying vegetation, and the electric hum of life. In this seemingly peaceful world, survival was a constant, brutal negotiation, and this world belonged to Titans. He was a mountain of scarred hide and battle-hardened muscle, a veteran patriarch of nearly 30 years. His massive head, scarred from 1,000 conflicts, rested on the forest floor as he conserved the immense energy his body demanded. Beside him lay his mate. She was a fraction larger, her movements possessing a chilling economy, her deep... For nearly a decade, this pair had carved out and defended a vast territory, their authority absolute, their rule enforced by bone-shattering power. But their true legacy, the entire focus of their existence, lay between them.
Their offspring was in its 5th year, a lanky, awkward adolescent.
It was no longer a downy chick, but not yet the hulking powerhouse of its parents.
Proportionally longer legs and a leaner frame spoke of a creature built for speed.
It was restless, pacing on bird-like feet, its feathered arms held tight to its body. This was the dynasty's single heir, the culmination of years of successful hunts, territorial battles, and a fierce, instinctual drive to endure. As the air began to cool, the female rose. The lesson was about to begin. Her target was a small herd of Tyrannosaurus, stout, she moved with a terrifying grace, using the dense foliage as cover, each 10-ton footfall placed with the precision of a stalking cat. The male, following her lead, began a wide, circling maneuver, not to attack, but to become a living wall. The juvenile watched, its body tense with anticipation, learning the art of cooperative predation.
The female's gaze was fixed, her strategy clear. Use the terrain, channel the prey, and let the males...
But youth is a currency of impatience. Seeing an opening, the adolescent broke from cover a moment too soon.
The forest floor, a tapestry of dry leaves and brittle twigs.
The nearest Tyrannosaurus jerked its head up, issuing a sharp alarm call.
And the herd exploded into a frantic dash, scattering in the one direction the male had not yet closed. The hunt was over before it began. The juvenile, frustrated, let out a high-pitched cry. The female approached, not with aggression, but with a slow, deliberate stride. She nudged her massive head against her offspring's flank. It was a lesson in failure, a correction delivered not with teeth, but with the profound weight of experience. This bond, forged in teaching and protection, was the most powerful force in their world. As the last rays of the golden hour bled from the sky, the family was whole, their authority unchallenged. But in the deep shadows of Hell Creek, other eyes were watching, driven by hunger, exile, and desperation. The twilight came quickly in Hell Creek, and with it, a change in the sensory landscape. The vibrant strangers. The air grew cooler, and the sounds of the day were replaced by the chirps, clicks, and rustles of For the apex predators, this was a time of advantage. Their vision, adapted for low light, could pierce the gathering gloom. The parental pair, undeterred by their offspring's earlier mistake, had moved on, their immense energy reserves. This was a hunt that required their full, undivided attention. A dangerous, calculated dance with a three-horned, 9-ton fortress. The juvenile, instructed to stay behind, remained at the edge of the clearing, a silent observer hidden in the deep shadows of the tree line. Clistis or Cludlist. It was this separation that the rival had been waiting for. He was a nomad, a subadult of 7 years, exiled from his own birth territory and too weak to challenge an established male. He was a creature of pure desperation, his bones aching with hunger. He had been shadowing the family for 2 days, a ghost in the forest, drawn by the scent of their kills and driven by a gnawing emptiness in his belly. The attack was a blur of clumsy, desperate violence. The rival bird burst from the opposite side of the clearing. The juvenile, though startled, reacted with the ingrained ferocity of its lineage. It sidestepped the initial, clumsy rush. But the attacker was relentless. It slammed its body into the adolescent's flank, the impact sending them both stumbling. But the juvenile let out a piercing cry, a sound of pain, shock, and outrage that tore through the quiet twilight. It twisted, snapping its own jaws, and managed to clamp down on the rival's shoulder. For a few desperate moments, the clearing was a maelstrom of thrashing limbs and snapping teeth. But the rival had the weight and the desperation. It shook the juvenile free and drove its head down, its teeth sinking deep into the juvenile collapsed with a shriek, its leg buckling beneath it. The rival moved in, aiming for the neck, for the killing bite. It never landed. The juvenile's first cry had not gone unheard. The triceratops forgotten, the parents with the rival's head jerked up, its eyes wide with the sudden, horrific realization of its mistake. It had time for one panicked look as two mountains of fury, their silhouettes black against the last blood. He abandoned his prey, scrambling to escape, the scent of the juvenile's blood on his snout. He had won the battle, but in doing so, had just become the sole focus of the two most powerful and intelligent killers in Hell Creek. The parents reached their wounded offspring as the last light died, their deep rumbles now resonating with a new tone. The darkness that fell upon Hell Creek was absolute, a thick, moonless blanket that swallowed the last of the twilight's red glow. For the wounded juvenile, it was a night of fevered, shallow breaths, the deep, shredding pain in its thigh a constant, burning agony. For the parents, the darkness was a canvas. The immediate threat was gone, but the air was thick with the rival's scent.
This is an unforgivable violation of them, an action that triggered a shift in perception from territorial defense to something much.
The tyrant's gambit was not a single, explosive act of revenge. It was a slow, suffocating siege of terror. The campaign began not with a charge, but with sound. The parents separated, positioning themselves on opposite.
Then, the male unleashed a call. Not the deafening roar of a challenge, but a low...
Before the echo faded, the female answered from a new position, her call slightly different in pitch, creating a disorienting landscape of sound.
All through the night, they continued with acoustic bombardment, a relentless psychological assault that denied the rival rest.
Daybreak brought no relief, only a new phase of the strategy. The rival, exhausted and paranoid, was finally driven by thirst to a nearby stream. As it lowered its head to drink, the female appeared upstream, not attacking, but simply standing, her immense form a silent, menacing statue.
The rival recoiled, abandoning the water, and fled.
Later that day, after a grueling, energy-sapping chase, it managed to bring down a young Pachycephalosaur.
As it bent to claim its first meal in days, the male emerged from the tree line. He didn't rush. He simply walked. He didn't need to fight. His sheer presence was enough. The starving rival, utterly outmatched, abandoned the carcass without a fight. This pattern continued for 2 more days. Every potential meal was stolen. Every source of water was denied.
The subadult grew weak, its movements sluggish, its eyes wide with the constant stress of a creature that knows it is being toyed with before the end.
The female blocked the far exit, while the male descended from the rim, cutting off all escape.
The rival, cornered and exhausted, could do little more than turn and face its doom.
As the crippled creature screamed and fell, the male delivered the finishing blow. His jaws, perfected by the execution, was brutally efficient, a definitive and final statement. They did not feed. They left the body to the scavengers, turned, and began the long walk back through the forest. The long night was over, and a terrible justice had been served, reaffirming the unwritten law of Returning to their shelter, the fury of the campaign gave way to gentle care. The female tended to her injured child.
Meanwhile, in the ravine, the circle of life continued, indifferent. A pack of dromaeosaurs arrived, one's vengeance becoming another's meal.
Fairness. The clearest proof of parental investment came later that day. The male returned, not with a full belly, but with
Weeks passed. The rainy seasons came and went, washing the world and nurturing new life.
The lesson had been seared into its mind. In another cooperative hunt, it moved on its mother's cue with perfect.
Time passed, measured not in days or weeks, but in millennia.
Under the harsh Montana sun, a soft brush sweeps
it. But in the memory of the Earth, they are not fossils. They are tyrants, protectors, a family,